Hello, and welcome to this presentation on Does Your Child Not Want to Go to College? um, First, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Jason. I am the program manager for the UX/UI Foundations program here at Av Academy. And what we're going to talk about today is just empowering yourself with alternative career paths in the tech field, right? When we think of the tech field and we think of tech jobs, we have a lot of preconceived thoughts and just concerns and uh, just think it's pretty difficult to sort of break into that field, right? But what we're going to learn today is different types of insights that help ease us into breaking into the tech industry. We're going to show a couple of success stories, especially ones that have come from our program, Av Academy, and then talk about some possibilities outside of that traditional education route, right? The world is changing. Technology is becoming a part of our everyday life. It's incorporating itself into almost every single industry out there. And because of that, there is tons of possibilities on breaking into the tech field that doesn't require that traditional degree, like going the route through an undergrad in college or even a master's. So let's go ahead and sort of jump into it. I'm going to talk very quickly through the agenda today. So today we're going to talk about a career in tech, challenges, perceptions, and opportunities to paths to success. How we're going to go through this is, first and foremost, we're going to discuss what is a career in tech, right? A lot of us have these, preconceived thoughts on what a career in tech is supposed to be like or what it looks like. And we're going to kind of go through that together and sort of understand it a little bit more and how it's sort of evolved over the years. After we understand what a career in tech is, we'll talk about breaking down the barriers, right? Some myths that we might have thought, the difficulties on getting into into a career in tech is not as bad, and we'll kind of walk through that together. Once we sort of break down those barriers, we understand, break through those myths, and we understand how to get into tech with an alternative career path. We can then start to talk about what it looks like getting started in tech. Is there a job market in the tech field today? And then how can I get started? How can your child get started? We'll go through that together as well. So let's go into our first item on the agenda. What is a career in tech? And how quickly can you join the party, right? We're going to explore the speed of breaking into tech compared to the traditional career paths. And then, is the path to innovation quicker than you think? So I love to start things off with a quote, right? It's a great way to sort of frame your mindset, get the wheels kind of turning and thinking about what we're going to be exploring, which is, as we said, a career in tech. So this is a great quote from a philosopher, John Dewey, and it says, "If we teach today as we taught yesterday, we rob our children of tomorrow." And keep this quote in mind, because this is something that we're going to kind of jump right into about the difference in teaching today, especially in tech, compared to the traditional route of getting an education. So entry into a traditional career path kind of went through these standard requirements, right? First, it took an academic requirement, whatever that might have been, which, if we're talking college, it's usually 4 years plus if you want to go to graduate school or continue that education. After you get that academic requirement, then you start an entry-level job, right? It doesn't matter what job that's going to be. There's some sort of entry after college that's going to get you employed and sort of set yourself at the foundation. From there, you climb a ladder, whether it's a corporate ladder or a ladder in a different type of career path that might not be corporate, distribution, whatever it might be. You have to climb that ladder, which can take several years, and then you typically repeat this over the decades until you're ready to retire, right? When we look at tech, entry into a tech career is very, very different, right? You first, instead of getting that academic requirement, the difference is you just need to acquire those skills. Tech is using a tool. Think of any tool that you might use in any type of job, whether it's machinery, driving a truck, whatever it is, you need to get those skills. And that's the same thing with tech. is we're using tools to make things. It just is a little bit different because it's digital. But to get those skills, it's really can take about 3 to 6 months. Once you get those skills, you can start that entry-level job shortly after you're learning. And then the cool thing about tech is the field is evolving almost every single year over year. There's new, innovative technologies that are coming out that are changing the way people within the tech field do their job. So you're going to keep learning and you're going to keep growing throughout your entire career. What you might have signed on for, if you think a traditional tech route is something like coding, the way that you code today is going to be vastly different from the way that you code tomorrow, which is why education in the tech field is much quicker, because it's getting you into that. It's getting you the information you need to know to get that role. And then once you get that role, as new innovative ways of working come out, your role is going to adapt with that and evolve with that. So this is the difference between sort of a traditional career path where you sort of go through college, get that education and just kind of climb that ladder, to a career in tech where it's just about getting those skills, right? It's not necessarily in education in the sense of, broader, traditional, college setting. It's just getting those skills that are going to help you get that job and then growing and evolving throughout your entire career. So to understand a little bit more about tech roles, I wanted to talk about 4 specific roles that sort of shape this digital landscape, right? If you think of any product that you use today, it's most likely going to be digital. Any business you interact with today has some sort of digital aspect to it. And these 4 roles are very critical in making that digital product accessible to you. So the first one that I'd like to talk about is a data analyst. This is somebody that unlocks secrets, right? They're like a detective. They find patterns within the way that customers are behaving with that product, and they're using those customer patterns to shape the way the product can perform better for those customers. From there, we go on to a developer. A developer is different in the sense that they're the architects who make those applications or websites work. If you think of Uber, for example, and you need to open up your phone, open up the application and call a car to give you a ride, a developer is the one who is making that happen, where when you click the button to call that interaction notifies a driver, and then they come and pick you up, and it all works within that application. That's what a developer is doing. Another really important role is a UX designer. That's what we do here at Avo Academy. Where what we teach UX designers make those apps easy and cool to use. They're like artists sort of creating enjoyable experiences, right? As a developer is the one who kind of puts it into code and making sure that it's all working within the app. The UX designer is sort of sketching out the way that app is going to look and the ease of use for you, the user who uses that. That's what the designer does. They make sure the experience goes well for anybody who's using that application. And then the last thing is sort of a product manager. This is somebody who's overseeing the entire product. They're working with both the business side of the product, and then as well as the customer side of the product. And they're sort of helping steer all 3 of these roles: the data analyst, the developer, the UX designer, making sure they work together to produce a product that is, number one, profitable and also usable for the users in a good experience. So these 4 roles are critical to understand sort of the tech landscape. And we'll talk about a little bit more about what these roles kind of do. So to kind of put this all together, I wanted to go through a really fun example on what these roles look like in the working world. So we'll use Amazon as an example here, right? We've all used Amazon, and if not, we've definitely heard of it. So here's sort of how those 4 key tech roles contribute to a tech product. So number one, the data analyst is the person that's in the background, right? We talk about them finding patterns. They discover trends, what products are popular, what people are using. And when you've logged on to your Amazon website or the Amazon homepage, a lot of times what you see, recommended products for you, that's something the data analyst is contributing to, right? They're able to sort of uncover your search trends, what you've bought before, and help recommend products that are for you. The developer, as we said, they're the one crafting the foundation of that app, making sure everything runs smoothly. The buttons you click, the page you visit, when you click order, that it's actually going to order the product that you would like to and go to the address that you put in. That's what a developer is doing. They're coding all of that in the background. The UX designer, they're focused on making that an enjoyable experience for you. They create the look of the application or the website. They make sure it's easy to navigate. Imagine if you went onto Amazon, you found a product that you love, but you have no idea where that add to cart button is or where that button is to check out and confirm your order. You're going to be very frustrated. You have this product, you want to purchase it, but you have no idea how you're supposed to do that. A designer is crafting that design of that website or that application and making sure it's very easy to use for the user. And then we have that product manager. Again, there's somebody that's steering the ship. They have the vision for what the business stakeholders would like that product to do, and then what the customers want from that product, and they're making the whole team work together. So this is sort of a cool example of, Amazon experience. It's a collaborative effort. There's analysts, developers, designers, product managers, all coming together to bring that digital experience where every click is sort of like magic, right? You find a product you love, you click a button, and all of a sudden it winds up at your doorstep. And this is just a great overview of the different types of roles within the tech field and how different they are, right? A data analyst, a developer, a designer, they're all going to bring different skills to the table, but it comes together to make that business work. So now that we understand a little bit more about the different types of tech roles that are out there, let's break down these barriers and build the future into tech. Right? We think probably we're going to break those myths, unlock the potential. Tech skills transform lives. So what is really stopping you? Right? We're going to challenge in this section. We're going to challenge those preconceptions, explore new horizons, and pave the way for personal and professional growth. And right off the bat, a lot of myths that we might think with tech has to do with those, that huge tech boom that we experienced in, the 90s, the early 2000s with Microsoft, Apple, these really, really computer heavy roles. And that's going to be a little bit different. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But again, I want to bring back a quote here. And this is from John Wooden, one of the best basketball coaches of all time for UCLA. He says, "Do not let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do." And this is a great quote to look at when we're talking about breaking down those myths to getting into the tech field, because a lot of times we think tech is like those early, those early ventures of Microsoft and Apple, where you had to be a computer whiz and super focused and understanding of how computer networks work to be able to work in the tech industry. And it's completely changed. We now in the tech industry need people from all over, from all different walks of life, from all different experiences, from all different industry, because tech has been incorporated into almost every business we use. So don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. And the first thing that we'll jump into when we start breaking down these myths are the employment outcomes, right? Tech careers have lower entry barriers and faster entry barriers, and they have similar employment outcomes. So we're going to look at boot camp grads for these statistics here, and we'll talk about boot camps a little bit later on in this presentation. But think of boot camps as that tech entry, like we talked about in the beginning of this presentation, versus that traditional career path of going through college. And these statistics come from a survey from Indeed. Indeed is a popular job application platform where companies will post all such different types of jobs out there. And they're really good about gathering that data and sort of understanding who's getting the jobs and why. So the first thing, 72%, and these are hiring managers that have filled out this survey from Indeed, 72% of hiring managers said that boot camp graduates are just as prepared as computer science or college graduates to work in their tech role. 99% of hiring managers said they would hire a bootcamp graduate again after hiring the first one. And then 79% of bootcamp graduates have been employed after just 180 days. So in less than a year, graduating a bootcamp is getting you a job at an 80% clip. So just in terms of employment outcomes, not going that traditional college route, hiring managers are happy with graduates who don't go through college and get an education or get the skill set from boot camps. And boot camp graduates are happy because they're getting jobs at a pretty fast rate in less than a year. So right there, employment outcomes is pretty identical to going the traditional college route. The next thing is requiring those tech skills, right? That's another huge myth when we think about tech. We think you have to be this computer wizard, somebody who understands, the ins and outs of how computers work and the ins and outs of, of the technical nature of that job, when in reality, it's not like that, right? So a lot of times we stop ourselves because we're uncertain about where to start. How do we get those skills? I've never been somebody that's so into computers before. How do I know what skills I need to be able to get into the tech field? And then we're also concerned about credentials, right? We talked about, graduating from a boot camp, but is that really worth it compared to going through college? We know college is this tried and true method where you go there for 4 years and then all of a sudden employers want you, but is that necessarily true? And the results are not at all. So in reality, 86% of online credentials, 86% of people who have gotten online credentials believe that it helped them achieve their career goals to getting a career in tech. And then 75% see those digital credentials as supplementing traditional education. So a huge majority of people who have gone that alternative route, that have gone through those boot camps or acquired those skills, not through college, are very, very happy and are very, very likely to break into that field. And as you saw from this previous slide over here, if you look right in the middle, 99% of hiring managers that have hired somebody from a boot camp have said that they would absolutely do it again. So just another myth we're sort of breaking down, right? It doesn't, the employment outcomes are essentially identical, and getting those skills are not as difficult as you think. And then the last thing for this section that I kind of want to walk through here is that bootcamp grads versus college grads, right? Boot camps are going to offer a faster and cost-effective route to that lucrative tech career, with graduates achieving comparable earnings to those with traditional computer science degrees. And we'll walk through this slide together here. So if we go from left to right, we see that first chart here as duration, right? 2 to 4 years is essentially what it takes to get a college degree. 2 years for an associate level degree, 4 years for a bachelor's degree. Whereas when we look at a boot camp, 3 to 6 months to just get those skills, right? We're specifically learning something. If we think back to those 4 tech roles, the data analyst, the developer, the UX designer, the product manager, it can take 3 to 6 months in a boot camp to get the skills that you need for one of those roles. Now we'll go to cost, right? Let's talk about that cost-effective route. College can cost $35,000 at the minimum. And we've seen the cost of the price of college year over year is going up and up and up, whereas some people are graduating, some students are graduating with close to $100,000 in debt, right? So that's the cost of college, whereas the average boot camp, and there's quite a few options out there for you to look at, is $13,000. And that's just average, right? You're going to have some boot camps that are much, much less, even as low as $3,000. So just think cost-wise, right? We have the duration. Boot camps are 3 to 6 months compared to 2 to 4 years. And then on average, they're $13,000 compared to 35 plus for college. This quicker entry makes into the workforce makes boot camps a smart choice for those seeking efficient and impactful career paths in technology. And then if we look at this last statistic here on the right, this is about return on investment, right? A college degree is an investment. If you are going to go to college and you're going to spend 4 years and you're going to rack up that that debt potentially, in some cases, close to $100,000. What is your return on investment supposed to be compared to a boot camp where you could only be racking up, 13,000 and maybe even less in some cases? So if we just take these numbers here that we have, the return on investment, right? The average salary is somewhere around $70K for both boot camp and college graduates. That return on investment, the first year, is going to be $57,000 for a boot camp graduate and $43,000 for a college graduate. And that's only a college graduate at 35K total, which we know is much, much higher. So there's a 32% higher return on investment when you're going that boot camp route, right? Your salary is contributing to your education and paying it off quicker. And it's that cash is coming right back into, is coming right back and returning to you at a faster rate than it would be if you're going through college. So these are just the results, right? And I hope that we can take this and sort of break down those myths. The employment outcome is essentially identical. The salary for the entry-level job from boot camps to college graduates are essentially identical. And what is better on the boot camp side is that return on investment. You are getting into the job just as fast, sometimes even quicker, because you're only there for 3 to 6 months, and you're going to start getting paid right after, essentially pretty quickly after you can finish those camps and get those skills. So now that we have talked a little bit about the myths, right? We understand. So let's kind of walk back. We understand what a tech career looks like. We understand the different roles in tech. We've talked a little bit about those myths, on breaking down those myths in getting into the tech field. Now let's talk about how to get started or how to break into it, right? The first thing we want to do is learn the foundations, right? We need to learn what the skills are so we can start a career in tech. And this is how you can do that. We're building skills for tech. This is like your toolkit, right? We're going to understand the information, how to create those enjoyable experiences and make smart decisions for the future. We know that no fancy degrees are needed. It's just a willingness to learn. So here's a few different options that you can talk to your child about. You're just exploring the options that sort of shape that digital landscape, help you gain those foundational skills, right? We're going to go through 4 of them. The first one is self-directed. This is best for a student if they prefer learning independently and they have good self-discipline, right? Because they're self-directing their learning. There's a lot of information out there on the internet where they can learn these skills. It just requires very, very good discipline. The considerations, things that you might want to watch out for with this learning path, is it requires strong organizational skills and it may lack guidance. You're not really working with the experts. You're looking at YouTube videos, or you're purchasing single courses online from Coursera or Udemy, which will teach those skills, but there's not going to be anybody there sort of giving you that feedback that you need or telling you if you're learning in the right way. So while self-directed could be great to acquire those skills, it's also lacking a little bit in that guidance area. The second is mentorship. This is best if a student values that personalized guidance from experienced professionals, right? A mentor is key in any career. Any career that you go into, a mentor is somebody that's going to help you get better. And the same thing goes with tech. If you are getting guidance from an experienced professional, it's going to help you. The things that you want to watch out for, the considerations with mentorship, is there's limited availability. There's not an infinite mentors out there. To find one can be hard. And sometimes mentors aren't willing to work with you unless you have that prior knowledge. So they don't want to start from scratch. If you don't know what to do, it could be hard to get a mentor. You sometimes might need that foundational learning, that first step in learning the skills, so then a mentor can shape you and make you a little bit better. If you do want to go this route, some things that you can explore are LinkedIn, as well as ADP list, just some good resources to sort of reach out to mentors if that's what you'd like. The third path to getting those foundational skills is online courses. This is best for the student if they enjoy structured online learning with flexibility, right? It's flexible, it's online. They don't have to sit in a classroom. They don't have to necessarily find time to meet with a mentor in a tight schedule. They can get this class and sort of learn as they have the time. The things to watch out for, the considerations for these online courses, is there can be difficulty aligning that course with your career goal, and the qualities can vary. So first, let's talk about the difficulty with aligning it. You can purchase a course in UX design, and it might cover some really interesting aspects, some really important aspects of UX design, but that's not necessarily the goals that you have in mind with what it's covering. UX design covers a variety of different types of roles under that sort of UX designer umbrella. The course that you purchase might not align with exactly what you want to do with UX UI design. So you might have wasted your time sort of doing it. If as well as the quality, right? Sometimes you read reviews and the reviews come out great, but it might have been somebody that was a little bit more experienced taking those courses. So it might not be great for somebody who's just trying to learn right off the bat. So some resources, though, if you did want to go with these online courses that you can explore them and understand them, are Udacity, Coursera, Skillshare, and Pluralsight. The last path that we're going to talk about, and we saw those statistics before on boot camps, which is really the most popular one these days for breaking into the tech field. Boot camps are best for those students if they seek quick, hands-on path to becoming job ready. The reason that boot camps are so critical in helping you break into that field, or so key to helping you break into that field, is because they're constantly updating and evolving to teach the student the skills that they need to be job ready, right? The job of a developer, the job of a UX designer has changed over the years. Boot camps are updating their curriculum to make sure that the skills that they get through their program are going to help them land that job. They're going to be exactly what clients are looking for, what employers are looking for. Now, there are a couple of things to watch out for if you're going through that boot camp. So some considerations to discuss with your with your child is it's intensive, right? A boot camp is very similar to college, where there is a curriculum. You have to go through that curriculum. There is going to be somebody that's there to talk with your students. So it is intensive. It requires research and time commitment. They have to be able to ensure that they're going to be able to complete that program within the time frame that program is. And a couple of resources, our Self-App Academy, where we teach UX UI design. And I'm going to walk through a great example of how our bootcamp works. And then Coding Dojo is another one if you are interested in going into development. And then you can just simply Google tech boot camps, and there's tons of them out there that you can kind of go through and do some research on as well. But these are those learning paths. Again, each of them have their pros and cons. But if you're looking for something to really, really help your child learn those skills that are needed for a career in tech, that can help them out, boot camps are definitely the way to go, because they combine sort of all three of these previous ones into one, right? It's self-directed, where it's usually online. There's mentors involved in the bootcamp, helping that student learn, helping them get their work done. And then it is online as well. So once you sort of learn those foundational skills, again, through any of those paths that we had talked about in the previous slide, it's next about putting that knowledge into action. So after you learn the basics, it's like moving from, let's say, reading a recipe to actually cooking, right? You can read that recipe, you understand every single ingredient that is supposed to go in there, you understand, what temperature you're supposed to cook it at, but until you actually try to do it, you might not understand, the difficulties and challenges that come with actually cooking that recipe. And once you start doing it, it just gets easier and easier. So real world projects make your learning practical, right? So when we talk about learning the foundations, next step is connecting those ideas, right? Because any foundational knowledge is really just ideas, and connecting them to real life, and then getting better through projects. Tech is all project based. Any product that you're working on, is usually on a project-based cycle or a product-based cycle. And just by working through different projects, it's going to help you gain those skill sets and better market yourself for a job. So how do you get that real life application, right? How do you go from learning to applying that knowledge in real world projects? And then again, we'll talk about a few different paths that you can take here. So once you gain those foundational level skills, the few things that you can do to sort of practice is freelancing, right? This is where you're using your tech skills to do paid tasks for others. And there are tons of platforms out there for, a small business or an entrepreneur that just needs help sort of developing an application or designing an application. And maybe they don't have a huge budget because they're just trying to, get their idea off the ground as an entrepreneur. This is where pricing in the market, somebody who's new, who's just learned these skills could be a great freelancer in some cases because they'd be able to help at the pay that is required. Now, some things to look out for with freelancing is this requires some strong self-awareness skills, right? You learn a little bit about these you learn about the tech skills that are needed in the discipline that you're going into, but it can be difficult to sort of balance those freelancing jobs and then any challenges that come with learning on your own. So that's just one thing to look out for with freelancing. The second is open source projects. This is pretty cool. There's a few different platforms out there. What open source project means is it's a shared tech project out on a community. So some sort of community out there has put a project and they're opening it up to anybody to come and chip in and use their skills and work with a community of other people to make this project better. The problem with open source projects, or some considerations to look out for, is there's a lack of support and structure, and it can be difficult to sort of build that confidence. If you're new, if you have just learned these tech skills and you go into an open source project and you put in your time and you start working and you add your contribution, it might not be correct in some ways. There might be some aspects of your contribution that need a little bit of tweaking here and there. And instead of getting that guidance, it can just get overwritten by somebody a little bit more experienced. So that's the problem, is it's hard to sort of build confidence. Another option, the third option we have here, is hackathons. This is really cool. There's events all over the world. It could be online, it could be in person, where people come together to work intensely on tech projects. Usually it's some sort of competition where it could be 24 hours or 48 hours or something like that. And you join and you get put on a group with other people to solve problems. And again, sometimes it's a competition where they have, different places for whichever team comes up with the most innovative solution, right? The problem is these are super, super fast paced. So if your child is interested in doing a hackathon, they just learn these skills, it can be hard to work that quickly with a limited scope and in that type of a time frame because it's, you just don't have that practice yet, right? So it can be a little bit difficult. However, that it's a great option to sort of learn and get some experience under your belt and start adding to your resume. The last option for applying that real world practice are bootcamp client projects. So we talked about boot camps, right? We talked about the similarity in structure to college. You're going through a curriculum, you're learning through teachers, you're learning through mentors. When you get to the end and you graduate a boot camp, a lot of times they offer the ability to work on these real client projects. So this is where you're going to work with a team of other students. You're going to work projects in some cases for real companies, and you're applying what you learned, and you're having that mentor support throughout your time on that project as well. So any type of challenges that you might encounter as a team, those mentors are going to be there to guide you in the right direction. Again, there are some considerations with this. As great as the bootcamp client projects are at helping you gain that real world experience, it does take a commitment of your time. You are working with a team of other students, so you have to be respectful. You have to be able to meet, and you also are working with clients. At Avocademy, we partner with small businesses and nonprofits to deliver design work for some of their websites or applications. We ask our students to commit to their team and to the client because this is something the client does need for their business. So it's a great experience, but that does require some commitment. So these are just some paths that it takes to get into that experience and get that experience under your belt so you can make yourself a little bit more marketable. Again, all of these are available to anybody who learns those foundations. And just to kind of showcase a little bit about, a little bit more about Av Academy and some of our program, right? We kind of go through that structure of learning the foundations and then helping students come together on teams to work on real life projects. Employers value practical experience, right? Just like anything in life, learning is one thing, applying is the next. So getting that next step, that practical experience is really, really critical. Employers are going to value that, and we help build that portfolio for that student to showcase what they've learned and their capabilities. So how we help elevate our employment outcomes for our students, we help set those projects that they've worked on into a diverse portfolio that shows their skill sets and how they've adapted to client needs. We set them up on teams. They're going to work on a few different projects. The ability to collaborate on multiple projects shows that you can work well with others. And then that expert guidance, of course, we have that mentorship available throughout their entire project, whether they're working on 2, 3, or 4 projects, to help them navigate the challenges and improve that on-the-job learning. So with Av Academy, you learn the foundations in about 8 to 16 weeks, and then you start working on some projects to apply what you've learned. 95% of our students who have gone through this 1-2-step program have landed a job working with our Av Academy team, working with Av Academy teams, and then landing a job with some employers out there. And then the average time is 122 days. So that is in under a year, you can learn those foundations, apply your skills, and then get that entry-level job to kick off your tech career. So it's not as difficult as it sounds. It just sometimes requires a little bit of structure. That's why boot camps can be so critical, and it's something that you might want to explore with your child. So before we move on to the final section of this presentation, I would love to have you kind of give some feedback, give us your thoughts on what we're learning here. If you have your phones with you, you can pause, you can go ahead and scan that QR code in the bottom right of the screen. And this will give you a survey to fill out about this presentation here. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And then if you do fill out this survey, you will receive a $250 off coupon for our foundations course for UX UI design, to kind of help just help with your educational journey, and just get a little bit more affordable as well. So we're going to go into a little bit more about what our program looks like, but I would just love to share. I would love to hear you guys share your thoughts. So please scan this QR code and let us know anything that comes to mind. And even if some questions you might have, we can help answer. All right. So the final section here, is there a job market, right? We've talked about the tech field. We've talked about what different types of careers are out there. We've talked about the myths between boot camp graduates versus college graduates. We've talked about the different paths to getting those foundational skills and applying those skills in a real life setting. But is there actually a job market? And the answer is it's not as difficult as it looks to launch that career. After getting the basics, after getting that real world experience, it's time to find a job. You need to prep your portfolio. A portfolio is going to be like an add-on to your resume, where you're showcasing what you've done, what you've built, the clients you've worked for. Interview practice is key, right? It helps you gain that confidence to explain your skill sets and your experiences working on those projects, and then finding your job. And as we've seen, it can easily happen in under a year. But what types of jobs are out there? And the answer is tech careers extend beyond software companies. It's not the Microsoft, it's not the Apples, it's not the Googles, it's not even the Amazons. Any industry that you can think of has tech involved, right? If you think of healthcare, somebody who may have worked a couple of years as a medical assistant, or worked a couple of years as a nursing assistant, or even a nurse, or somebody who's worked as a teacher, this is where your passion for helping people can translate into the tech world. Healthcare companies are coming out with applications, right? We now have video appointments. We now have ways that we can communicate with doctors through an app. We have ed tech, right? We have education companies that are increasing their footprint on through applications and websites. So if you've worked or if you have some experience in these industries, it translates really well because they want to hear from you. If you've worked as a medical assistant, a healthcare company would love you to come on board and help develop that application because you know what the customers need in that healthcare field. And the same thing goes for passion. If your child is super interested in cars, for example, there are companies out there in the auto industry that are increasing the way that they communicate with their customers through technology. So their passion in cars, their interest in cars can translate really well into making them marketable for a tech company, because if they learn some skills to be a designer or be a developer and they have that passion, that interest in cars, they're going to be somebody that company would love to hire because they can put their passion and their newfound skills in tech into making that product better for the user. So this is why tech goes beyond what software companies, the traditional software companies. Almost any company that does business today is using technology in one way or the other. And that means we need people from outside of the tech world and bring them into the tech world to make those products better and closer to the user. So I would love to wrap this up with a quick demonstration on how we sort of at Avocademy help you through this process. So what I'm going to do here is show a little bit about our programs, and then I'll go into a demo from one of our success stories. So let me just re-share some screen here. Perfect. All right, so here you can see is our Avocademy website. We were talking about learning the foundations, and that is what we would do in our foundations program. It's an 8 to 16 week curriculum where you learn UX UI design. It's 100% online. It takes about 10 to 15 hours a week to complete that program with unlimited mentorship. So when you start to learn the foundations, the student will be working solo on their own design project, working with mentors to build that out, and then they'll be able to put that into a portfolio. And I'll give you an example of what a portfolio looks like in just a minute. And then it's very affordable as well. We're one of the most affordable UX design bootcamps out there. It's only $2,997, and there are payment options available as well. So much less than that college degree. You can see some of our graduates have landed jobs all across the board, right? We have some financial companies like JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. We have some that have worked at Amazon, some that have worked at CBS, some that have worked at Delta. I mean, it really goes on and on because, as we've stated, the tech industry has evolved into almost every company out there. So this is sort of how we would learn the foundations. And then we have that career jumpstart program as well, where after they learn the foundations, they would then go into working on some real world projects. So they take their foundational skill set, they work on 2 to 4 projects with other designers from our programs under a design mentor, of course, to help with that guidance. They will work with small businesses or nonprofits to help design their websites or application. They can then add those portfolios, those experiences to their portfolio, right, to show that they've worked for a client to help develop something for them. We offer unlimited interview prep, so you get that career guidance, that career mentorship when you're ready to interview for the field. And then we have that hiring help as well. And then as we stated, it takes 122 days on average to land a job if you go through these programs and follow our steps. So it's pretty remarkable, some of the success that we've seen through our program. And other boot camps out there as well have probably some similar statistics. But let me go ahead and show you pretty quickly what this looks like to when you do get ready to apply to a job and market yourself. So you go ahead and reshare. Awesome. All right. So this is one of our students. His name is Patrick, and he was this is his portfolio. So this is what it looks like after you've gone through our foundations program, built your own design project, and then worked in Career Jumpstart for some real client projects. You're going to put those experiences into what's called a portfolio, where each project is going to be something to showcase your skill set, right? So you can see now he's currently working at Xerox. He got hired there. And this is an example of what he did through our Career Jumpstart with our other design students in App Academy, right? So he was a UX UI designer on a team of 5, working for this small company, Vibin, that wants to create a platform to allow people to host and join activities within their area. So this is what it looks like. So you can see this is where he showcases his experience on building this website that you can see here for this company. Again, it's focused on providing users with a user-hosted event in their areas. It promotes community and experiences, and it just helps as a platform to set up events for guests and to browse events within your area. So you can see his role as a designer on a team of 5. This was about a 6-week project, and this is what they ended up creating at the end for the client, who, you know, was very, very happy. You could see that this is the design of the website. If you were to use Vibin, you would have the ability to search through all these different categories. You see the map of the area, the cost. Very, very cool what they were able to do for them. And then for employers that are looking to hire you, that you can help kind of explain how you did this. This is what your portfolio, this is where it's so key to have, you know, portfolio and to have that mentorship and guidance to put this together in a presentable way. It talks about the research. So you can see how Patrick and the team members were meeting here, how they were meeting with the client. They did some competitive analysis looking at other competitors that might have a similar type of digital solution, how they went through the current website. So this is what the current website used to be for Vibin. And then you can see how they totally transformed it, right? So this is them just kind of walking through the entire design process, you know, learning user flows, so some really cool design terms. And then now you can sort of see, you know, the wireframe, right? Because everything's kind of got to go through a step. So wireframe is essentially a term to show how the layout of the web page is going to look. And then you can start seeing some colors that they started adding to it, some different iterations here. And then last but not least, the actual working screen and a quick prototype for the client to view. So and then this always ends with sort of a reflection and a look back on the project and the experiences that you've learned. And this is great for employers to see and view, because it's going to help them understand their experiences and just be a little bit more marketable. So this is a great example of what you can learn in really less than a year and sort of break into that field. So last thing I would like to share with you guys. Now that we know, you know, a little bit about the process, is schedule a mentor call with one of our career advisors. Talk through this, whether you want to do this alone as a parent to understand a little bit more about our program, or if you want to have your child call and schedule a call, if you want to go on it together. Our career advisors will help answer any questions you might have from this presentation, and they'll be more than happy to talk through you know, anything that comes to mind and sort of walk through the process again. So you can scan this QR code here. It will bring up a link to schedule a call. You can visit us on our website. You can see all of our Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. We have an email address there. So if anything comes up, you know, feel free to do some research on our site, email us. And lastly, you know, schedule a call. We would love to hear from you. So thank you again for watching this presentation. We hope we're able to answer any initial questions you had about an alternative career path, especially boot camps compared to that traditional college route, and how easy it can be to get into a job in the tech field. So we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.